Robert.
Yo, what's shaking AC?
Hey, no, it's interesting because you, like, unlike many people, still have a voice after being away at a franchise conference.
Well, one of the 48 laws of power by Robert Greene is to do the least amount of talking and let everyone else talk. And that way you control the conversation. When you say something, then people really listen. That's why I have a voice.
Okay, so how do you manage, like, if you're in the trade show hall and, people want to talk, like, I guess, do you just ask a lot of questions or how are you just stand there, like,
Well,
doing nothing?
I'll say that's a proprietary secret of Robert M. Bruski Enterprises.
Yeah, but like, no, but how do how you can't just stand there like doing nothing. Like you have to get them talking so that they do the talking and you do the listening. So
Yeah.
are you just asking them strategic questions or how are you getting them
Yeah,
doing this?
usually they're open-ended. When you ask them like,
Yes.
"Hey, do you guys operate in Canada?" and they say yes. Well, there it goes, right?
Yeah.
Explain to me the different countries that you operate in and how it differs. There we
Yeah.
go. Boom, boom. They'll tell me the
Now
whole
you
life
got them.
story.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Now you got them talking.
yeah.
Okay. I just thought you should expand on that because I understood what you were probably doing, but I just wanted to make sure because that would be really awkward if you just walked around and didn't talk.
Yeah. Well, you know what? Speaking of the IFA, I was walking around not talking, and I saw your roundtable there, and the roundtable, the thought leadership roundtable you were hosting, and it was slammed. It was jam-packed. Like not only was every seat full, but you had like two or three rows. Like they should have brought in bleachers. Like this was like an ASU football game.
Oh, ASU, Arizona State University football
Yeah.
game. Oh my gosh. Okay. Yeah. So, yeah,
That's
it
crazy.
was
What were you
well.
talking about? What got everyone so interested?
Well, okay, in full transparency, I had no idea that that topic was going to be that popular, but I'm really happy about it because the topic was how to coach a growth mindset in franchisees, or I might have that wrong, but it's along the lines of like, how do you help a franchisee have a growth mindset through field coaching?
Okay.
And so we were talking about like, franchisees that, often very commonly just get kind of stagnant. They get stuck working in their business. And often it can be, oh, I'm sure can be difficult because sometimes they're kind of just happy working in the business for various reasons.
Hmm.
So yeah, so it definitely attracted. I don't know if it was the topic or the fact that I had Canadian Kit Kats for people to sample because I learned at the FBR summit in October that Americans go crazy for Canadian Kit Kats or just kind of Canadian chocolate and stuff in general. So I had my American and my Canadian, they could come and try. So I don't know if they saw the Kit Kats, they saw the topic, or they saw the big red hat I was wearing, but one
No
way or
doubt,
another,
eh?
it was well attended.
Good.
What's that?
I said no doubt, eh?
That is your line. That is your I'm a Canadian line, isn't it?
It is.
And then I
Uh,
see people come up to you and say that to you.
they don't. They want me to talk because they apparently love my accent. Anyways, we're digressing here.
Okay, so
Let's
yeah, the round
let's
table.
let's get back to this growth mindset here, right? I hear you. I hear what you're saying. That franchisees oftentimes they need to grow, and they need to get into a specific mindset that allows them to grow. And it's not surprising that your roundtable would be packed because it seems like every franchisor wants their franchisees to grow, and they're trying to figure out how to do it. And eventually, all roads lead to field coaching, right? But the
Mhm.
question is, I mean, the question I would have for people at your roundtable would be like, all right, you got all this information. Now what? Like, did you just write it down? Like, what are your steps? Like, you have to be accountable. You have to do something. Give the franchisees a pat on the back. Maybe that's one of the solutions. Okay, well, how are you going to do that? Like, are you
Mhm.
going to do that? You're going to have tasks to do it? What, right? Like, what have you found from that standpoint?
Yeah, you're definitely speaking my language there because what I find is I find that at the IFA, the CFA, all these things, we're talking often so kind of high level or in the home office. The team that's not out in the field is talking about it, and they're learning all this information from each other. But when's the last time you actually took the time to do professional development for those people? Like, so that's why the topic literally said via field coaching. And just to clarify for anybody that hasn't heard that term, we use that term as a just a nice generic industry term, but that really refers to, in your own business, you might call it a franchise business coach, or a sometimes franchise business consultant, or an area director, or whatever your team uses to talk about the person that's supporting the franchisee. So what I feel like doesn't get talked about enough is the fact that the way to fix this is to get those people this content. So, I mean, I will say kudos to the brands that had some FBCs there. There were about four, because I ran 2 roundtables back to back. Each roundtable was quite full, like you said. And out of the, I don't know, what, 25 people would it be that were there? When you
2,500.
Okay, that's pretty funny. But anyway, say 25 people, 4 maybe out of them were FBCs, like were people working in the field. So I was really happy to see that they were at the IFA. But I really believe we need more content for them, because the majority of the people that were at my roundtable are people that are trying to learn how to get their franchisees to do this, but they're not the ones doing it. So I don't know what they're doing. I asked that question. I made sure we fit that in both roundtables. Once we had a conversation, we talked about, first of all, why franchisees don't have a growth mindset, like what stops them, some things you can try. We talked about all that, but then it was like, but before anyone goes, let's acknowledge the fact that the person that delivers this needs to have the proper coaching and training so they can get the franchisee to want to have the growth mindset. So I would say that the room went a little quiet when I asked that question. There was a lot of nodding and writing, which tells me that they were like, oh my gosh, I haven't thought of it like that. And so they were like, yeah, I need to figure out, how do I impart this information onto my field team?
I think,
It doesn't matter if the CEO knows how to do it if they don't teach properly the people in the field, right?
yeah, for franchisees
Can you
or
tell I'm passionate, by the way? I get really like on a
yeah,
soapbox when it
okay.
comes to this.
So for any franchisee or any business owner, you have 3 options: grow, close, or sell, right?
Yeah.
And you're aware of that. And usually business leaders are aware of that as well, but they don't know how to communicate that to the business owner. And so they'll bring in a business coach to try to bridge that gap. And oftentimes the business leaders aren't the ones with that skill set. That's why they brought in the business coach, and they're kind of like, oh, I got this off my shoulders, right?
Yeah.
But that person that communicates with those franchisees, like, that's the hardest job in a franchise system. And they not only have to be supported, but they also have to be trained on how to do it. Everyone's consistently learning, and you've got to provide them the resources to do that as well, like going to a coaching seminar or a roundtable or an academy.
Maybe like an AC academy.
Yeah.
That's a solution. I mean, I can't not say that. I was thinking, just because we like to keep our rants on the kind of shorter side, we should probably do a rant next about what some of the things were said. So I'm kind of giving you my key takeaway right now, that it was a great reminder that this is something franchise. Well, I would say I was happy to see that people care about this topic, because often this franchise sales stuff is the most well attended. But for people to understand that in order to be able to sell more units and all that stuff, we need our franchisees to want to grow and be happy with that growth, so that they open more units. It's easier to have them open more units than go find more franchisees. So I was really happy to see that people wanted this topic. That was a very pleasant surprise. And so my key takeaway from that roundtable was that they're still not realizing that it's all about the field team member. We are trying to raise up the field coaches in the industry, which is starting to happen. Like, they are the unsung hero, and there's other partners that are people in franchising that recognize that, but the majority isn't thinking enough about it. And so my key takeaway was like, yes, we need to keep going with this. And there are people that get it, and they're there sitting at that roundtable learning, and there are things you can do. So yeah, part 2 of this, or just some other time, we can talk about some of those takeaways. What can you actually go do when you have that problem?
Wonderful. Well, I'm glad you had those takeaways, because my roundtable moderators didn't show up.
You should have come to mine if there was a
I
feedback.
know. All right, let's wrap it up.
All righty.
3, 2, 1. Go be awesome.